Today, let's just make a really simple bruschetta. Bruschetta, bruschetta, however you pronounce it, you're right. Doesn't really matter. What we want to do is have some Roma tomatoes, some basil, some garlic, and a couple other ingredients along the way. Let's start with our tomatoes. I like to use Roma tomatoes for this because they have a lot less seeds and much more flesh. The way you prepare them is kind of important. And have a strainer ready to go. What I'm going to do is just cut the end off, cut it in half, and then see all this inside? If it's too much, you can kind of scoop that out, but there isn't really a lot in these particular ones. So, like meaning if it's too juicy, this looks to have a lot of meat, so that's good. And I'm just going to cut it into long pieces like this, and then dice it up. If you find that your tomatoes are very large, like these are, you can actually cut this piece in half too and get more. Just looking for a fairly fine dice. You don't want it to be like mush, but you want it to be pretty small. Some of these are a little bit big, so I'm just gonna run the knife through a little bit more. And I'm gonna continue on. I have 6 tomatoes here. I'm probably not gonna use them all, maybe only like 4 or 5. And I'm putting them into a strainer, a colander, on purpose. More on that in a minute. So what I mean by the interior gel, if you slice them open and you see things like that, or like this, just take your finger and you can push it right out. And that way you're not getting a lot of the excess liquids in here, because we want to drain this out anyway. Now that I was so careful about putting all of our tomatoes right into the colander, I actually have to put them in a bowl because I overestimated the amount of tomatoes. We want to salt these lightly, just a couple of pinches here and there. And I'm doing 2 batches that way so I can get them all. The idea is sitting in the salt for a few minutes is going to help drain off some of the excess liquid. So now I'm just gonna transfer them right back into our colander, and then I'll just hang that in the bowl and put that to the side, let that drain for a few minutes. Now all these tomato pieces, they're gonna go in the compost. And while the tomatoes are draining, let's talk about bread. This just happens to be a homemade loaf of bread that I made today just for this purpose, but you can use a French loaf, you can use pretty much any bread you want. This just happens to be one that we really like. The recipe for this is actually in my 1 dough, 3 breads video, and I'll put a link to that. But I'm just gonna cut it into slices. Everybody likes it at this nice oblique angle, so I'm gonna do that. I'm cutting them about 1 inch thick. I like a little bit of bite to it. I don't like it too thin. I have my oven preset to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll put the Celsius up here too, because we're going to toast these. When choosing a bread though, if you're not making it yourself, you want something that has a nice open crumb like that. And that way it'll give really nice chew and flavor to the dish. This is one of those very simple dishes that has a lot of little steps that if you don't do everything exactly right, it might not be quite as nice. It'll still be good. Don't get me wrong. It's really hard to mess up bruschetta. There's just not a lot of ingredients here. There's not a lot that can go wrong. But having good bread is the secret, I think. I'll save that for me. Yeah, that one too. All right, so we ended up with 8 pieces. What I'm gonna do is take just a regular sheet pan, and I'm gonna drop them on here. I have a silicone covering on there just to protect it so that, you know, I don't have to clean it up so much. And now that I have them arranged, I'm just gonna put them nice and close. Here, let me make some room here so you can see what I'm doing. And I have olive oil in my sprayer, and I'm just gonna give them a little spritz with olive oil. Just a tiny bit, not too much. And then let's spread them out before they go in the oven. I'm gonna cook about 7 to 8 minutes on each side, and after 7 to 8 minutes, I'm gonna flip them over and spray the other side. So 400 degrees, 7 to 8 minutes per side. So I showed the little bread end, and I said I'll save that for me. Here's what I'm gonna do. Just a couple drops of olive oil on there, not much. Even got some on the board. And then at the tiniest, like 20 grains of salt. That's it, chef snack. Next, we're going to prepare our garlic. Now, I'm using like 4 cloves, but these are ginormous cloves of garlic. If you have smaller cloves, you might need more. I generally go with, you know, like that much tomato to that much garlic. Pretty much, I mean, if you like it more garlicky, add more garlic. You want less garlic, you can do that too. Just gonna cut the woody bits off. Now these, we save for broth, but that's another video. We have a video on that too. If I smash these, the camera shakes, so I'm not gonna smash them. I tried that. Instead, I'm just going to do a very fine dice. Okay, I have my garlic chopped up. And now I'm just going to run the knife through it the other way, get it even finer. I like it a little smaller than that. Okay, garlic is now ready. Just going to slide that off to the side here. And I have my burner set up. I put it to super high heat, which means 5 on mine for now, but I'm actually going to turn it down once that gets heated up a bit. I'm going to take a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. Yes, there's some oil in this one. And just maybe a tablespoon and a half or so. Just let's go with 2 tablespoons, just because. And I'm going to add in my garlic. I think that's the key to this one, is cooking the garlic, because raw garlic put into this gives this very strong flavor, but cooked garlic, oh, there's something special about that. We're not looking to burn it or even brown it. We just want to kind of cook it till it goes a little bit more translucent. Usually takes just a few minutes. If you have any bigger pieces like that, just chop them up. Also, into that pan, I am going to put just, you see how much that is. It's like a pinch of red pepper flake. It's optional, you don't have to. I just like it. That's an extra little depth to the flavor. All right, we're starting to get a little bit of sizzle, so I'm going to turn that heat down even more. I really don't want to burn this at all. All right, I'm going to turn it down even more. I'm down to like minimum now. Okay, our bread is ready for flipping. So let me actually take this off the heat, set it to the side. All right, here's our bread. Give them a flip. Pan's starting to get hot. And a quick spritz before my hand burns off from holding the tray. I'm back in the oven, another 7-8 minutes. For those of you curious, I'm actually doing 8 minutes each time. I say 7 to 8 because you really want to check it at like the 7-minute mark, just to know, like, you know, every oven's a little bit different. You don't want them to burn. All right, this is looking pretty good. I think our garlic is cooked up. It's only been, you know, maybe 3-4 minutes. You don't need a lot, just enough to take some of that harsh, bitter flavor out. So I'm going to take that off the heat again. Just going to set that to the side, let it cool while we work on our basil. Now, this is basil from our own basil plants, and I'm just piling the leaves up. I have probably 15 or 18 leaves. Most of these were pretty small. I honestly wish we had more basil. And I'm just going to kind of curl them up like that, cut across the top. It's called a chiffonade, by the way. And I'm just going to run the knife right through, and we get really nice shredded basil. See? Something like that. All right, let's check out these tomatoes. They've been sitting for the entire time that I've been filming, which is probably about 15 or 20 minutes so far. And they've released some liquid, not a tremendous amount, but let me dump that liquid out. I'll be right back. Just gonna give that bowl a quick wipe to get more liquid out of it. And I'm gonna dump our tomatoes right in there. Toss in our basil. And then, this is the awesome part. All this, the oil, everything with the garlic goes right in. Now keep in mind, we salted those tomatoes, so there's already salt. We added the red pepper flake to the garlic, so there's already seasoning there. And the oil is actually a part of the dish. Just kind of puts it all together really, really nicely. I'm gonna grab some tongs and just kind of give this a mix through. Now another optional ingredient, but Derica really likes it. That would be my wife. So I'm gonna put some black pepper in this and mix this up. So as you can see, it's kind of like seasoned tomatoes. That's the gist, if you've never had bruschetta before. It's one of my favorite things. I actually love it as an appetizer to go with Italian meals and that sort of thing. Or, you know, just as dinner, if you really wanted to. There we go. There's our bruschetta topping. Okay, it's been 8 more minutes. That bread is done toasting. Let me get it off of here and onto... It's a little warm, but, you know, that's what being in the oven will do for you. I do not have cook's fingers. Okay, I'm just gonna make a few of these for show on the channel here. The rest, we're gonna have with dinner tonight. So, the easy way to do this, really, really simple. Let me make some room first. Making this is actually really, really simple. Find whichever side of your bread is larger. Sometimes you have a larger side and a smaller side, and I'm just gonna take some of our bruschetta mixture, which is actually just the topping, and put that right on top of the bread. I kind of like dome it down with the spoon a little bit. Something like that. Put as much as you dare. It usually makes a mess when you're trying to eat it, and that is okay. And then if you're feeling really fancy, you can sprinkle a little bit of balsamic vinegar over the top. If you have a glaze, even better. I just have, you know, the cheap stuff from Publix. It's okay. Still gets the flavors across. Now you want to eat this fairly quickly. If it sits too long, it's going to get kind of droopy. But I have to take pictures and make a video of this, so I'll be back in a minute. Okay, you may notice that there are only 2 pieces of bruschetta left on this plate. There's a very good reason for that. It's because I have 2 cameras that I'm running at the moment, and I forgot to turn one of them on. The one that actually has the audio attached to it, so it was pretty important. So I just ate that one really fast, and now I have a deeper understanding of what it tastes like to give you a proper tasting this time around. So here we go. First, it's impossible to eat without making a mess. You're going to drop something. It's okay. Pick up the leavings, put them back on, put it back in your mouth. It's all good. Second, that bread is just crunchy enough on the outside, soft enough on the inside. It's beautiful. A little bit of the balsamic vinegar coming through, just a hint of it. But what you're really greeted with is the sweetness of the tomatoes mixed with the slight olive oil flavor, flavored with garlic. And then the basil on top of that for like a little freshness punch. This is just, it's awesome. I could eat an entire loaf of bread this way. I know that wouldn't necessarily be the best thing for me to do, but it would taste good. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. See you next time on The Bistro.